April 20th, 1970.
Is Ray deep enough? Ray is deep. All right. You have something for us right away? Yes. All right, what is it? Never again shall you do this to Soul Ray. Otherwise you shall kill him. I have told you before. Before this there must be peace and tranquility for him. Yes. I have told you of the passing before or around his head and body while he is in trance state. Yes. When this happens, you are passing through his own body and through ours. I have warned you before. If this is done, you may kill him. And when I say him, I mean his body. I have told you before that his body is very weak at these times. Do not touch his body. Pass your hand around his head or move around it. Is from whence we come. Now ask what you will, for this shall be a short session. Who would you like to do this to, Ray? You shall continue, but be very careful and remember the words that I have spoken before. Be careful before the trance. Remember, all of your thoughts are passing through his. When there's unrest, these thoughts pass through his mind, causing an unrest. When there is a great unrest among you, these unrests pass through him. In some ways he can't understand it fully yet. It upsets him greatly. I thought the Lord's Prayer would settle this. It did, but it did not start the squabbles in your minds. Now you have a question. Ask it. Well, we have many questions. But first, did the dog disturb Ray going around his head? It was not the dog. It was the physical movement of a body above his head. The dog also disturbed the physical movement of a body. There was also, I see, a body of a lost soul seeking his aid. This is wrong at this time. We shall take measures to see that this does not happen again. Yes, I wondered if it was all our fault. No, the greatest harm which he couldn't understand was the begging of the lost spirit for health. We shall take the necessary measures to see that this does not happen again.
I'll take measures here also to see that things are as peaceful as possible.
Now you have a question. You have many questions. Ray's body is growing stronger, therefore I am growing stronger in my voice.
Is my arm holding the microphone over Ray's body harming anything?
The microphone has been blessed.
Yeah, but
Therefore, your portion of your arm which will enter has been blessed. This has already been studied and permission granted. Now you have a reading from a soul bill.
Yes.
This permission has been granted. For the first proportion of this, we shall say there is certain information which might be harmful to him if he thought others knew. Therefore, this information will be given at another time and only to him. Now, he has for one thing a very deep-seated guilt complex. We shall go in that, as I said, at another time. But to the physical body, first, it would be good for him to have the baths that were suggested as before. Also, it would be good for him to drink of the sage root for the cleansing of his kidneys. This would be also for the cleansing of the soul. It is also a good tonic for the cleansing of his kidneys. Because of the drinking of alcohol, he has a slight case of what is known as rheumatic poisoning and inflammation of the liver. This man should not drink any alcoholic beverages under any condition at all, because it is killing his body functions. When we speak of the body function, the body in itself is a pure source of energy. And usually in birth, unless from some past life is carried through, is usually in perfect working order. Now, this soul needs lens, corrective lens. Also, it would be suggested for orthopathic treatment for an injury he received as a child. This injury has affected a proportion of his mind. Once this work was done, I'm sure his mind would be a great deal clearer. Now, we see the problem of the collapsing of arteries. He should see a good medical doctor and a check be taken of this. There are natural herbs he could take, but for some reason we feel as though he would feel better taking medicine from a doctor and prescribed by a doctor. There is no great urgency. This is a gradual process and should really not affect him until his later years. We see slight arthritis of the left knee and cramping of the fingers, also arthritis there. The arthritis is growing in his body. We would suggest the baths for this would be very good. Also, there is a cactus in thy region known as the night-blooming citrus.
Night-blooming what?
Citrus. The digging up of the pot of this plant and the eating of it in its natural form, though it would have a bitter taste, would be good for this. Do not boil this plant and be careful with it because it contains certain poisons and also certain alcoholic content to it. Therefore, use it in its natural form in very small quantities.
How much and how often?
Oh, I would say that chewing of a quarter by 1 inch in thy measurements per day would be sufficient.
Just chew it?
Yes, in its natural form.
And spit the pulp out.
Right. Now we have as I said before, the need for other help. He is asked for a life reading in his case, a full life reading at this time cannot be given. The suggestion has been made that he might seek employment at a different job. It would be suggested, rather than quitting his present job, that he asked and received permission from his employer to be as a leave of absence might be granted there. If it was done in this order, and then the waiting until the changing of his employer at the job in which he holds, he might find a great improvement there. Ordinarily, readings of this type for material gain is not given unless we feel that it would affect his physical and mental body. Also, for the good of his family. That is the reason this information has been given. It would also be suggested as soon as possible that he come here and speak with us in person. He has a great reluctancy on his part for this, for he fears the knowledge that we know. That will be all at this time on So Bill. He should have regular readings. Now, permission has been given for a reading on thyself. Now it is up to you to ask.
Yes, I have it written down. It was stated that at a later date this reading could be given, and I would ask at this time that possible to give both health and life readings.
Yes, we have the soul rod here. We also have his body. It would be suggested that you also should seek certain no, that is not right. It has been suggested they seek first dental care. This is poisoning thy whole system, and if it was not done soon, shall cause a great amount of trouble of the gallbladder and of the liver area. These both, in their working, was meant to extract the poison. You are overloading these. Now, it would be suggested, and there is doubt in your mind of where to get the root of the sage. It grows in great quantity, a short distance from you, wild. The cultivated does not have the mineral that we seek in it. Now, it would be suggested in your case of the drinking of this 3 times a day, approximately 1/2 pint, without sugar, as a tea form. If this is not compatible, even the chewing of the root would help, but not give you what we have desired from this. Also, it would also be suggested that you need an osteopathic doctor from an old injury of the right knee, of the right shoulder, and of the upper portions of the neck. Also, there are a definite amount of straightening to be done in the back area. This would also be suggested. A very definite amount. This would help in your seeking of sleep more readily. It would also be suggested that they get more rest. Also, it suggested the eating of soybean prepared as the religion of known in thy plane as the Seventh-day Adventist prepare this. It's very good. Now, the more eating of okra in thy diet would be good. Of radish, of carrots, of celery. The lessening of salt in thy diet would also be good. This is suggested for the purification and the help of the purification of the blood. It is also seen that in later years, unless certain precautions are taken, that you shall have what is known as a hardening of the arteries. Now, also eating of the pulp of the night lemon citrus would be suggested. The quantities of a little larger, maybe an inch by an inch in your case. This would also help in the prevention of any arthritis in the body. Now, we see a lesion from improper diet as a child. This lesion is centered around the left kidney area. It would be suggested there by using hot castor oil packs, as hot as you can stand it. Very, very hot. Use this on cloth and use it in 3 layers. No, this isn't right. 4 would be better. As hot as can be applied to this area. Keep this on if you can for 12 to 24 hours, and then another reading should be taken after this. Also, you have a scalp problem. Unless it's corrected, could cause the falling of the hair. This problem, tightening of the scalp, could be relieved with hot olive oil treatment, rubbing very, very vigorously into the scalp area. And then using as hot as you can stand it, hot towel treatments. Then, after this is over, using a good natural shampoo on the hair would be good. Now, this would do for the body at this time. A soul rod. Now, for the soul in itself. The need for more belief in mankind would help thy soul tremendously. Less doubt. There was words spoken once before in the time of David. For who but a fool should speak that there is no God, and the belief of him would only bring foul and foolish things. There was something else spoke. How many times shall my Lord forgive thee of thy sins? And thy Lord spoke back and said, forever. But the Lord shall shed for each of these times a mighty tear. And he shall cry for thy soul. She cries for all thy souls and spirits. For he loves thee so. Now, you have a great question, and permission has been granted upon this. As we have told you before, that no money, as I call it, or material needs may come from these readings. Only when they are to help thy spirit, thy soul, and thy family. In this case, permission also has been granted for it. In thy mind, they have asked, can I change jobs? And here is thy answer. Very close to thee, there is a job for thee, which thou could change to. And then by changing employment, he would give thee more of thy time at home, more of thy time to build of thy other material things. If thou build a house, build thee thy foundation first, and make it strong and pure. The other things that thou have in mind can be built. But if thou build a house upon a weak foundation, it shall crumble from thee. Then our answer shall be this: do not build on a weak foundation. Do not be impatient. For as we have told you before, material things for this work shall come as raindrops when they are needed, but not as great floods. For thy own material needs, thou should work with thy hands, thy body, and thy mind. But do not be impatient, for if thou art impatient, all that thou build shall crumble. Build a step at a time. As thou were building the Tower of Babylon, do not build it to crumble from thy feet. Build it good, with God's work, not of blasphemy. Therefore, by thy changing jobs, by thy saving of thy own funds. Do not overload thyself with bills. Pay out what thou can, save what thou can, and prepare thyself. And this way, stay in God's work, and by walking with your hand in God's, thou shalt never walk alone. Now, for another question in thy mind. I have asked, why did I say, not I, but we have said, that thou art the son of Abraham, and thy bore forth from thee thy son Noab. Now I shall answer this question for thee. For all the sons from thy sons of Abraham are thy sons of Abraham. For were the sons of thee from Christ, who bore no son, then all, as thou art the Son of God, as thou art the daughters of God. For all in God's eyes are the same, and are loved the same. I have asked another question in thy mind. How high or how low are the spirits of us? Then I shall answer it this way. For we who were sent from God are loved by God, and we who are sent by God may speak with God. There are many missions upon this earth in different work from ours. But I shall tell you this. At this time, this mission, and the spirits gathered here are as close to God as his eyes and his heart. That shall be all at this time. Unless I have another question which we have not covered.
Yes,
It should be suggested at this time that thou move thy leg a little so that our spirits may pass through, not only Ray's head, his body, but all of him.
is that right?
That's good.
Well, we're having a little problem with the water. You did say...
I can see this. Yes, the suggestion from Triple Wave is because of thy carbon filtering systems. The reason you have trouble with the water is because the water that I seek is not, it is fair, but it is not good. Now, we have dwelt into this question very, very carefully. And we cannot find that any water except that which is taken from great depths in your area would be good. This shall come at a different time. So therefore, it would be suggested that I should try and acquire a small distillery system, or if you must, build it yourself. There are simply devices. But the water must be filtered through carbon filters. Now, the water that we shall suggest at this time may be taken from the young area.
Which area?
The young area. This could be taken from a creek which flows through there. Now, by the distilling of this water and the filtering of it through a carbon filter, this would be very good. It would be not as good as some other waters we might have suggested, but due to the fact that you have had problems in acquiring this water, this would be good at this time for all of you.
We will use.
Now, if a distillery cannot be found immediately, it should be suggested that they take and build a slough, not of a slough, but of a box. Make it in dimensions of 1 by 1 by 6 foot, placing either pine or oak bevels through this every 6 inches, perforating this with holes no bigger than 1/8 in diameter. Very many of these in the bevels. Then fill between the bevels with pure washed sand from the same area which we have suggested that you take the water. This should be 6 foot long. This should be a simple and uncostly device, making the taking of your water very cheaply, cheaper than you could purchase it, and cheaper than you could make your still. As this finishes, this would act in the same pattern as distilling the water almost, then requiring carbon filters or pure carbon. You can purchase this at your local Woolworth store. Then, before and after the carbons, by placing a spun glass after these, taking fine either cheesecloth or something even finer, placing around this whole area, and you will have a perfect filter and good clean water to drink. Then at a later date, it would be suggested that you distill the same water and then run it through the carbon. But you can use this other device for now. You will see a great improvement in all of your health and your thinking. The water that you are drinking is having a great effect on your nervous systems, and the suggestion, even though the permission has not been granted, no, we cannot give this information until it has been asked and granted. This information is of Sylvia, soul Sylvia. Cannot be given at this time until permission has been given by herself.
We want your permission. Well, whatever information is you have.
Okay.
We have our permission.
Permission still has not been given. There is a psychological block there. Be suggested that this be brought up at a different time.
What is the nature of this?
It is in her mind until this matter is cleaned up. In her own mind, no further information may be given to her or about her. Now asked any other question that I might, because our time is growing slow.
Well, Margaret and Sylvia have asked how the invasion of privacy that they feel this has been on them, how this may be helped.
The evasions of privacy are only in their own mind. Actually, if they should look, they would find that the evasion of privacy that this has done has been small. The evasion by themselves and others has been great. But this much information can be given. Cleanse thy own souls. Second, that if information on these readings should be asked for and given. When on the telephone, they themselves should not be of such long tongues. Therefore, it would be suggested in all seriousness now that this privacy evasion has been felt by all of you by our coming. And this way we shall answer your question. For if thou should walk with thy hand in God's, walk then with thy hand in God's. But as this is the work of God, there is other work of God, your day-to-day labors. Take care of these needs. In the morning, when thou awaken, do thy day-to-day labors. Take care of thy families. Awaken each morning with a prayer. In this prayer, ask God to give thee strength and guidance that they may carry out thy daily labors, that they may receive his blessing through the day, which thou have already. Also, it would be suggested, one moment, for this must be taken up with the council, at which thy wait. It would be suggested that thou set aside certain hours of thy day for this work, and the rest for the work of thy labor. It is also suggested that for the human body and the human soul to mature cannot be all work and no play. Therefore, certain times should be set aside for recreation, laughter, without tears. Set this time aside. In other words, what we are trying to say, place each thing in its proper perspective, but leave a place for God. Now, it can happen, we would suggest, if Soul Ray is in accord with us, that our coming to him may come at any time from here on forward. We shall leave in his mind the knowledge from here on forward. All you must do is ask him from here forward if he, his body, and his soul is in accord with our coming. If he shall agree with you, we shall take care of the rest. Now, the suggestion should be made of the council and by one other than the council. That before these things should be done, be careful of what I think all of thee around, so Ray. For, as we have said before, we cannot stop his picking up of thy frustrations and sometimes thy actual thought patterns of the mind. So shortly before this, most of the things he will accept and put aside as we have taught him. But still, just before you put him under, as you call it, before he goes into trance state, be careful of thy thoughts at that time. Because I could kill his body. Going under that time was too much conflicts on his mind. Now, we have another question. And you have asked this and thought it. Will Ray die in trance state? When he dies, his physical body it will be not a trance that you can place him in, or anyone. For this is already God's plan of things. For he loves his soul. Now, I am growing very weak. You should waken. So, Ray, God, it was beautiful.
The throne?
Oh, it was so beautiful.
How long did you stay at the
It
throne?
was so warm and so. It was like I was there for a long time this time. Like he was putting things into me again, like he was putting new things into me. He was like he was almost like if they were rebuilding me. So beautiful.